Yes, people. Welcome back to Lion in the Room, and we are back. I'm your host, Leo, and I got my boy K as usual. People, we're just going to get into it. As you already know, if you love our content, you enjoy what we bring out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let your people know, let your mom know. Let's keep it going. But hey, my brother K, chat to me, bro. How you been?
Yes, we're back. Hope you guys have been good. Hope you guys have not gotten into trouble. I would not like to hear that any of our viewers have been arrested or negatively involved.
I'd say they miss you. I'd say they miss you probably.
Yeah. They definitely missed us. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm excited for this episode.
Nice one, bro. Things have been good. The sun is out. Time right now, it's past 8, but sun's actually still out.
Yeah,
it's crazy though, bro. You go past March and the sun just stays like an hour longer.
Yeah,
like an hour longer, and the madness of some people continue. But I think the weather is just good. I think the weather's good. It really just brings out good vibes.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I was going down to go buy like some groceries for my mom.
Yeah.
And I see people, it's a Friday, but I see people chilling outside, the shirtless dons, those guys that be walking around without their shirts. No packs, nothing. Do you? But so many people are just very comfortable.
Yeah, they were just really happy. Like, to be honest with you, I much prefer it like this when the sun it's out, it's shining, even when it's like 6. Cause I left the house at like 6. I saw it was still bright. I was like, everyone's happy. I'm like, yeah,
you can still catch the sun.
You can still catch the sun, the nice breeze. I was like, yeah, why can't we have more of this instead of the depressing rainy winter?
I don't know, man. It really doesn't make you feel like you're on an island. You think about it, the UK is an island, but I don't feel like it, bro. This feels like a huge ass continent, bro, with the way the weather be shifting. But we are going to get into our episode, and we always try to bring important, deep, life-inspiring episodes. But this is something I feel a lot of people experience, which is failure. Failure is very essential. I know that word might seem confusing with the way I'm using it, but I would definitely agree. I'll definitely double down on what I'm saying. Failure is essential to success. But a lot of people are not able to see that because of how demoralizing achieving failure can be, because we always want to achieve success. So before we go deeper, okay, pause. I want to ask you, bro. Give us.
I'm just going to. I'll just let it
go. Just in this call, let it go.
Yeah.
Give us a time in your life where you had failed at something that you just didn't expect, or something. You never expect to fail. Just give us an experience where you had failed something.
Okay, so I'm going to give when I was doing sports days in my school.
Sports.
Yes, inter-house sports. We did football. Now, this is the problem. We were doing football. We've been designated into our, red house, blue house, all that
Green
stuff.
house, yellow
cool,
house, yeah.
Cool. I was in red house. Fine. We were a good team. We were a good team. 3 of us, like 3 main good players. And then everybody else is like role players and whatnot. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, role players. So me, I'm a wing. I was playing wing back because I was, who else would play in the defense?
Korea type stuff.
No, don't say cool.
You don't rate Korea? No, bro.
I do, but not him.
The ladies like him though.
I would have said, what's this guy's name? This I think he's a German player.
No.
He was playing. He's really fast on FIFA. A black guy.
For Wolfsburg.
What's his name? Is it Davies or something?
Oh no, but he's French though. What, Alfonso Davies?
No, not him. Don't worry, forget about him.
Right,
okay, but the point is, so our keeper is injured in our last match. Now we don't have, because the thing is, we didn't really have too many players to be shifting. So they're like, okay, Kola, in goal. I said, yeah. Oh my gosh, man.
How did you do that, man?
I said, wow, you guys really do. He said, look, you're the only other person we could put in keeper without damaging, as in just shaking it up too much. Because we can't tell our striker to go into defense.
Did you guys have like any other taller guys or someone that could like jump?
No.
How old were you guys?
See, I was maybe 13, 14.
Okay, no.
But it's like, here's the thing. The only other taller guy that we had was the keeper that injured himself. And that guy, he's probably the most awkward guy I've like, in terms of like his hand-eye coordination and movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lanky people, when they're trying to adjust to their body, they're just kind of awkward. So he injured himself. Fine, cool, no problem. They've put me in goal now. We're up 1-0. By the time this match ended, it was 4-1. Yes. Imagine all the babes are watching. They scored 3 on my head, bro.
That's crazy.
All the women watching, they've dropped 3. I said, wow. That's not crazy. In front of the ladies, man. Like, I was like, my crush was watching. I can't even remember who it was. I just knew she was there. And they scored the 4th one. It was so bad, man. I tried to just catch it and it just went through my heart. I was like, what? At that point, I was so demoralized. I just went to, my mom just went and cooked me G-rice. She said, go and cool your head. I was just happy that it was on a Friday as well. So she just said, cool your head. You have 2 days to get over it. God, eat G-rice and sleep.
Oh my days, man. That stuff can be demoralizing. That's an aspect of failure that a lot of us do experience. You know, sports related events. They might put you in a position where you feel you can play, or you feel you can't play, but you just want to try. Yeah. You have to try, but trying sometimes is just not enough, bro. You just feel and like. The J-rice is sweet, but you know your tears be entering your mouth, bro.
Like,
it's
it was just like, okay, thank you.
I'm telling you,
bro. J-rice. Hot beating after they flogged you, just okay. Yeah, I'll show you my J-rice. Oh
man, but I think the importance of all of this is being able to understand that we need to redefine failure.
Yeah,
failure is not the end unless you make it the end. Like, aside from, you know, the sports events until they blow the final whistle, the game's not over. But I have here just a little thing I'm going to read. Often we perceive failure as a negative outcome, you know, something to be feared or avoided. However, reframing failure as a valuable learning experience can shift our perspective.
Yeah.
That's very true. You know, let me think about this. Imagine you have a son, you got a kid who's looking up to you. He's watching you chop some wood. Lumberjack stuff. But with him being a young boy, he's probably not, you know, it's not safe enough for him to chop wood. So maybe the dad who still wants him to be strong gets him to hammer in some nails.
Yeah.
In hammering the nails, he's not careful with it being his first time and he hurts himself. This is a boy who wants to either be, you know, a big lumberjack like his dad or a carpenter. But in either trying to do what his dad does, or making something, carving something himself, he fails, or it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
Instead of it being seen as a failure, it should be seen as a step closer to success. That's probably his first sculpture, or that's probably the first time he used a hammer. Now you need to work on your hand-to-eye coordination, or you need to focus a bit more, or you just need to listen. But do you know that a lot of times, what makes a person feel like they've failed miserably is always an outside factor. Somebody pointing a finger at you like, see that rubbish you did, man.
Yeah.
And then you're embarrassed. Like, yo, man, we need to be able to redefine it because no one can really tell you when it's over.
Yeah.
It's not over until I win. You know, a little quotes there, bro. Yeah, like, exactly, like, because I'll even go into that story because I just remember the story later. I'll tell that story later. The truth is that you need to be able to redefine failure and see it as a step to success. And it's only failure when you stop. You know, you're playing a game. You only lose when you stop playing because you always have an opportunity to try again. You know, you got the game over screen and they'll ask you,
restart,
do you want to try again?
Yes. No.
And if you pick no, game over, cool,
that's
you failed.
Game over for real.
That's when you failed. You can always come back, but in your mind, you know that you quit the game because you gave up.
Yeah.
Failure only comes when you give up. So a lot of people need to understand that the mentality is just what makes it, in my opinion, a whole lot better. If I sat down and I was going to the gym, but for a particular reason, I felt like I was failing or I wasn't reaching my goals at the time that I wanted to. When I stop, I was probably going to reach the goals the day after or a month or even a week. Sometimes you also need to look at important factors like patience. Those things are needed sometimes to keep you grounded so that you can focus on the task. What do you think?
I think honestly with failure is like you can't really see failure as failure. Failure is only failure when you give up at the end of the day, because they say it's not over till it's over. In truth, it's really ever over when you decide, okay, I'm not gonna do it again. Because it's like we just said, with the game, it says they will say game over, restart, yes, no. Sometimes they even just says continue, yes, no. It's when you then say no, that's when it's like, okay, game over, and then the game shuts itself off. It's like even in football matches, okay, maybe you're in the Champions League final, unfortunately you failed, you didn't make it. You still have a chance to try again in the next season. That's if your team qualifies, but that's neither here nor there.
Of course.
Because look at what's his name? Look at Messi. For most of his career, he never won World Cup. How many times did he try?
Yeah, it became a joke at that point.
Look at the time that was it not no, which team was it? Argentina and Germany 2014.
Oh, I was watching that game.
I watched it as well.
Penalties, I mean.
I think Sakharov, it's been so long now.
And
extra Germany won.
Yeah.
Messi could have said, okay, I give up.
I retire.
I'm not doing what I'm retiring from international, at least World Cup competition. It's not until, what was it? Which year was it? 2023? When was
last year? I don't remember, but it was against France.
Exactly. That was against France, finally. Like after everything, finally won it, that they had the picture with him finally winning the World Cup and whatnot. And look, it took time. Yeah, it took a decade, I think. A decade, 9 years, 8 years.
But now no one can say Messi didn't get the World Cup.
He didn't get the World Cup. He's done it. He's completed football. That's what they were saying.
Exactly.
Like, unfortunately, sorry to the Ronaldo fans, guys are like, Ronaldo, he didn't win the World Cup.
Yeah, but Broski hasn't failed.
He hasn't failed, but it's like, if he doesn't want to play in World Cup again, then
we won't have the opportunity to do that.
He won't have.
But there will be somebody that will question his career and call his international career.
They're always gonna say,
there'll always be people pointing that finger at you as if
he
like
didn't win World Cup.
But you've won so much more.
If they want to argue Messi and Ronaldo, well, Ronaldo doesn't have World Cup. That's what they will spam now. Oh yeah, well, he doesn't have World Cup. So like, yeah, you could say if he gives up on like World Cup, you could say, okay, yes, he failed in that aspect. Like he failed to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he's retired, so it's like there's no other opportunity. He failed. I mean, not to say his career is not, obviously, like, but he didn't get the World Cup.
Yeah, of course.
So really and truly, it's like, failure is only ever actually failure when you give up.
Or you no longer have an opportunity.
Exactly.
You no longer have an opportunity to try, or you yourself take away your own opportunity.
Exactly.
And funny enough, us as normal people, we sometimes feel as though our failures weigh us down. But even famous figures in the past failed as well. Thomas Edison, very notable figure. I mean, invented the light, the bulb. The electric bulb, the light bulb. People don't even. How when you want to buy a light bulb, do you say, "Oh, I want to go and buy light bulbs"? Or
I just say light bulb. Please give me a light bulb.
I want to go and buy light. Oh man! But Thomas Edison, he invented the light bulb, and I have another quote here, where Thomas Edison famously stated that I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Yeah. 10,000 ways that didn't work. Yeah. It's like a scientific perspective. Like you were telling me before we recorded, trial and error.
Exactly.
Trial and error. He didn't stop after the 9,999th time. If he ever reached there, metaphorically, who knows? But he kept on going. He kept on pushing. And now he's seen as the father of
electricity, I think.
I think it is that. Yeah. But that's to be known as a person who is widely related to that is important. But he wouldn't have been there if he failed. He wouldn't have been there if he stopped.
He gave up, really.
He wouldn't have been there if he gave up. And that's something that should be able to push people. When you're going through trial and error, when you're making something yourself for the first time, when you're doing something, you could decide to be a lover of Legos and figures you put together, and you might want to put together a figure you've never done. It might seem a bit too tasking, so you give up. You only fail when you stop. You only fail when you quit trying. And a lot of times people will just motivate you to keep on trying because you will find it. You will find it, bro. Is there anyone in your life, anyone you know that inspires you to keep on moving, to keep on pushing for greatness, bro?
Really and truly, let me think. Okay, this is a good one. I'll say my parents. Yeah, those guys are cool. They do be inspiring me.
Y'all some cool dudes.
Yeah, they cool. They be inspiring me. Where they don't give up and all that. I say maybe my sister. Yeah, she cool. My younger brother, he's alright.
So your family.
Yeah, I'll say my family. They cool. They alright.
Family is something you hold dear because the experiences that you go through, your experiences can also help your family members, your siblings to be better. Your parents' experiences, your siblings' experiences, and the fact that you can motivate them to be better is something that will always change the perspective of failure. Because if I fail, not saying that I should feel comfortable in failing, but I should be comfortable knowing that there are people that are ready to push me back, to inspire me, to get me back on my feet, because it's not the end. Sometimes when you are a lone commando, you may not be able to push yourself so far. There's only so far you can go on your own. So when you have people around you, people to inspire you, people that you can look up to, there's so many people in the world that inspire us today. Fitness-wise, you have people like Noel Diesel, you have David Goggins, you have different people that are pushing past what they felt was their reality. And so many people failed along the way, but they just took that as an opportunity to rise.
Yeah.
And you succeed. Now there's a scientific perspective on failure. And it says from a psychological standpoint, failing ignites neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections. This means that each failure can actually make us smarter, which kind of makes sense. You know? If you are making something, if you're starting up something and you fail, the next time you try again, you're not going to follow the same process.
You would try
something
different.
You're going to change the process up slightly different. You're going to, excuse me, you're going to change up the process. You're going to make it slightly different. Your conclusion might be different, or your starting point might be different. The middle, where you get to right there, might be different, but you're going to end up with probably a different answer. And one way or the other, you're going to succeed. You have to actually keep doing this thing. This neuroplasticity, we're all learning every day. Huge.
I think another thing to point out is like failure can also just be seen as a measurement of progress. Like, when you fail the first time, okay, it was at this point in which I failed. So when you try something different and you fail at a different point, it's like, okay, it's at this point. And it teaches you, because at the end of the day, when you don't succeed at something, it's a lesson. Okay, so this didn't work out. Why did it not work out? Then you look for the reasons as to why. And so you then prepare for said points. It's the same thing with like relationships. When relationships fail, you find out, you do introspectives. Like, you think like, why didn't this relationship work out? And then you be like, okay, it's like this. It's because of this, this, and this. You learn things that you like and things that you don't like, so that when you enter the next one, you're a bit smarter than the last time.
Exactly. You have to question yourself, question the situation, question the people around you. You have to find out what went wrong. It's like thesis. You need to be able to analyze. These things are important, people. But hey, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to go into the common fears and misconceptions about failure, because truthfully, we need to be able to change how people think about failure. We need to be able to change how we think about failure, because if we always see it as, the end of the road, then what's the point in having dreams? I definitely say that. What's the point in having dreams? failure is important to reach success. But hey, people, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, people, we're back. And Kay, like I said, we're going to be going into the common fears and misconceptions about failure. One of the first ones here is a fear of judgment. Now, judgment is something I see a lot of people struggling with. A lot of people are afraid of being judged. When I was younger, even now, I am still afraid of being judged sometimes. It's is not heavily related to success and failure and trying, but in a way, there are some small hints of it.
Yeah.
There are some small hints of it. Have you ever felt as though you're being judged for the outcomes? You're being judged for your failures and sometimes even judged for your successes.
Yes, I do think in terms of like I feel as though due to when you see someone fail repeatedly, it tends to create a perception of that person. People tend to see that person as like, oh, that guy is always failing. He's always failing. No, people tend not to notice, oh, he instead of seeing it as like he's always trying and not giving up, they see it as he's always failing. He's always failing. I think this is just because of like today people can just be a bit more pessimistic and negative. So it's like if one isn't always succeeding, they feel like, okay, yeah, people are watching. I better, do my best. It's like, it's like that saying that a lot of guys say is like, oh, when the ladies are watching, well, you better not mess up now. Because it's like, if you mess up, it's like, well, you did it in front of the girls and all that. So I think, yeah, I always feel like sometimes I might be being judged, my performance, how I do, but it's like, you have to try not to let that actually affect how you perform because some people might feel a bit too much pressure to then like actually do the best that they would do under normal circumstances due to the fact that they feel like they're just being watched. Do you get what I mean?
That is true. I also feel like there is, the misplaced judgment. And I'll bring up a small funny thing that we know from Nigeria, living in Nigeria sometimes. You know when your parents or someone's parents would say, look at that boy, look at that girl. Do they have two heads?
I just knew it.
Do they have two heads?
Two heads.
And your parent, that parent might be trying to probably motivate you or, they're just questioning you for your failure in their eyes. But that thing can be very demoralizing.
Yeah.
And because of, what your parents are saying, you either stop trying or you start pushing for perfection. And there's nothing wrong in pushing for perfection, but as you get older, you start to realize that some of the things you were pushing for weren't really realistic.
Yeah.
Failure mainly is an opportunity to learn. Once a child is able to understand that failure has to come, I think that they will be able to approach more opportunities with a bit more confidence.
Yeah.
Because even if you fail, it doesn't mean you're not cut out for the position or the opportunity or the role, but you have another opportunity to try again.
Yeah.
Like think about it, bro. If I came into a firm, this firm knows what they're looking for, and unfortunately, I'm not meeting the criteria. Does that mean I can't try again in the next few months or a year? If that's where I really want to be, what's stopping me from trying again later? But someone else who's seeing me, maybe they're ready to criticize me, maybe they're ready to give me advice, or maybe they're just ready to point their fingers at me. If they're doing that, sometimes it can be hard to push on. Some people are afraid of that judgment, and a lot of times that does come from the judgment being brought about very poorly. So when it comes to failing, young people, even older people as well, need to understand it's an opportunity to see where you're lacking and no longer lack,
Exactly.
Fix it up.
Yeah.
It's not the end. That fear, that fear of what another person is going to say or think about you is stopping you. It's really cementing you in that place and you're not going to be able to move forward. So I think it's something that people should be able to work on. What do you think?
I think, definitely, because, someone who's never failed versus someone who's failed quite a few times before, I'd say the person who's failed quite a few times may be a bit more formidable, because it's like, if someone who's never failed comes across something new, they might not know how to handle it because they've never experienced failure. Like, failure is a way of showing you where you lack, where you are, the things you are missing in.
Yes.
So people who've never been shown where they lack self-awareness, is as a fact. So it's like, but someone who's been able to see where they're lacking through failure, through trial and error, you tend to notice that these people are a bit more skilled and more knowledge because they've built it up. They've covered up for all the issues that they were having. Versus someone who's not. It's like a car that's built to take hits versus a car that's not built to take hits. So it's like, it might be a bit more. Basically, the car would be built in a form of trial and error. They would test it, with test dummies and whatnot to see, okay, is it good? Versus certain cars that they don't do like that. So those cars might be a bit more fragile. I don't know if that's making a bit of sense. Like,
I'm kind of seeing what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing where you're coming from. What I would say, what came into my mind was prototypes.
yeah, exactly.
In making, that Benz, that Range Rover, that Tesla, whatever car it is, there was a prototype.
Exactly.
And that prototype had to be tested. Those makeshift dummies you're talking about that they put in the car, when you're watching Top Gear, and they're telling you about, the brake force and how the durability of the car. And then they remind you that it's just a prototype.
Exactly.
Come back in the next 5 years and check on that prototype again. You realize that the car they were making, they've either scrapped the idea and, re-sculpted what they wanted to do, or they have finalized their vision.
Exactly.
And that car is able to do everything that they said, Color. Think about human beings. You can't just stop when your idea, your dream is a prototype, where the skills you are lacking have an opportunity to be worked on. Do not cut yourself short at your prototype level, at your prototype stage. Be able to move past that and go through the trial and errors so that you can come out finalized. Man, you will never lack in Jesus' name.
Amen.
But we'll also then go into the misconceptions of success. Now, it's a very nice point here. It says, there's a pervasive misconception that successful people never fail. We all know that's a lie. Successful people fail. You don't just come and you tell them, well, my name is Leo Edochie and I want to do this. My plan is this. Follow me. If I was Jesus, maybe. But the truth is kind of like, I need a lot more structure. I need a lot more going for myself. And sometimes I need to fail in my ventures, It's kind of hard, but I need to fail in my ventures to be able
to get to the successful one.
Exactly. Go past those mistakes. I might make a contract with a person and that person swindles me, and it might feel like there's no point in pushing past. This is over. But aside from the fact that my faith is strong enough and my God is with me, I still need to go and search for more contracts, search for more ventures. That is my way of making money, right?
Yeah.
If I fail my test, I need to retake it. If not, I'm not going to move to the next class.
So yeah.
If I'm an athlete that's running, if I come last or second, God forbid, but if I don't come first, if I don't get gold, am I willing to push past again? I need to fail. Anyone that tells you that there's no failure is a liar, because they are hiding their failures. They mentioned something called an iceberg here. It's called, like the iceberg phenomenon, where most of what you see at the top isn't everything, as there's so much more at the bottom.
You're only seeing the small bits. You're not seeing what is under.
Exactly.
The iceberg is a lot bigger than you think.
Exactly. A lot of times you meet people and you're seeing, their accolades. You're seeing their trophies. You're seeing the way people respond to them. But you don't know what they had to do to reach there. And a lot of times, some people have gone through, legitimate means that people can look up to. And some other people have gone through illegitimate means that do not inspire people, means that influence people negatively.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you come to realize that there is a big misconception because a lot of people don't tell the truth. A lot of people are not sincere, and a lot of people like to hide what they went through because some of them also have a fear of being judged. Some people succeed, but in terms of maturing, in terms of growing, some aspects of life they've not met, they've not reached. So I want to believe that some people, even rich, successful people, still fear being judged because there should be something they're still lacking. So it's okay to feel as though failure, it's okay to fail. That's what
Yeah,
that's what
it
I'm really
really
trying
is.
to say. It's okay to fail. That's the whole point of this episode. That's what we're trying to say. It's literally okay to fail.
It's very.
I mean, not fail continuously. Not, you need to still put in 100%. You still need
Yeah.
to put in your effort for you to still feel like you're willing to try again. Not just some flimsy, well, uh, okay, I
Yeah.
tried my best. No, come on, man. You still need to be able to go in there, put in like 110%. And if you fail, then you have an opportunity to learn from it again because everybody will still see your hard work. Whoever is pointing at you, there's another person right back there looking at you and seeing the mistake and is ready to help you improve.
I think another thing to also note is in terms of like the misconceptions of successful people. If, say, for example, now me, I come and I introduce myself to a group of young aspiring children,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ideally going to tell them, well, there was one time in school where I tripped and fell, and it was quite embarrassing because I was trying to learn how to walk up the stairs. It was something like that. People that post all their successes on social media, this is where the real misconceptions come. They don't show the process it
No.
takes. They don't show the failures because I'm not gonna tell you how that one time I gambled $6,000 and lost it in a single night. I'm not gonna tell you about that, but I will tell you about the times where I won 12,000. You're gonna be like, yeah, this guy's just good.
He's making bank.
He's making no, yeah, he's making bank, but in truth, he actually made 6,000 because he lost 6,000, made 12, and net 6,000. So he didn't actually make 12. But you get the point. They're not gonna show you that. They're only gonna show you the brights, the flashing, and it's the same thing we spoke about in the previous episode. They will only show you the good parts. They won't show you the work it takes to, get to this point. They won't show you the trials and errors that they had to do to get to this point because everyone that's doing something, they did things to get there.
Very true. Very true. Freaky stuff too. Yeah,
Exactly.
some brothers be doing some freaky stuff, bro, to get to where they are.
Exactly.
I remember my mom gave me this quote, Maybe it was my mom. I don't remember. Mommy, I'm bigging you up. It might not be you. But it was about success, some form of success, where they said the outcome does not justify the means.
Yeah.
You may be making it big, but you might be doing some shady business. All because you're probably afraid of what it'd be if you did it yourself, or you're afraid of going back to the lifestyle you lived. Some people do some very crazy things. We'll get into that on another episode though, but let's get into perfectionism. And here I want us to discuss about perfectionism and how it can lead to paralysis, waiting for the perfect moment. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they're perfectionists. Even in the game, The Sims 4, there's a trait, perfectionist.
Yeah.
And if you give that to any sim, they will always try to make the best quality item that they can make, be it cooking, be it handicrafting, be it sculpting. They'll always try to make excellent work. And if they don't, they'll be sad and demoralized. I think in today's world, there are a lot of perfectionists due to what they see on social media. A lot of people are ready to push for their goals, but once they see it's not working the way that person did it or the way they saw it in their head, they're ready to scrap it. So are you really a perfectionist? Are you really willing to push past, regardless of regardless of it? What I'm trying to say is that perfectionism is wrong because it's not realistic. I feel like as people, we have that zeal to push for success.
Yeah.
But it should be understandable when you don't reach success.
Yeah.
And you should be willing to try again.
Yeah.
Now, most of what it says here, waiting for the perfect moment or the idea is a surefire way to miss out on opportunities. You might be waiting for the perfect idea to stream. You might be thinking of the best game to stream. You could be streaming your Icarus game instead, but you're thinking, I've played Icarus, everyone's played Icarus. It might not be that fun. But due to who you are, your personality, and your niche, people might enjoy watching you play that old game. But you're thinking of a different idea, something that's going to be, you know what, let me give a different idea. Let's use this podcast, because it happens for me as well. I would sit down, people, and I'd be thinking of a great episode that's going to be so funny, so inspiring, so deep at the end of the podcast that I don't write nothing. And I'll sit down and think, it's like, hey, you ain't not written anything. I'll just be like, Jesus. It's not a surprising feeling, but it's annoying. Because as my mom says, I've just been on my bum all day, not doing anything. So I need to get up and dust my bum and keep pushing. You cannot wait for the right moment. Because what if the right moment never comes? Sometimes you just need to you need to rush in there head first
and just do it.
Work on something. You need to work on something. Imagine in May 2022, we decided to go to the gym together. Imagine if we waited for the right moment or a better gym to go to, or we just waited for an opportunity that would suit us or something that we would like. Maybe we wouldn't have been able to achieve the goals that we did in the gym at that particular time. But the thing is kind of like, you will never really know until you try.
You won't know until you try, guys.
You can only reach perfection if you actually endeavor. And when you go past failure, is then your opportunity to go at it again.
Exactly.
It's your opportunity to go at it again, people.
See, the right moment doesn't really come unless you make it come. Like, there will never truly be a right moment. If you sit down and think, okay, no, the right time's right. It's like you're in a club. You want to talk to a girl. You're waiting for the right moment.
Man on the wall.
Yeah, just on the wall. Like, okay, no, wait. No, that's not the best time. Okay, no, not that time. You're going to sit there and then the club's going to finish and you go, man, what's that thing we'll say? Oh boy, next time.
Oh boy, next time.
You will sit down, or worst case scenario, you sit there, somebody else is like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And then that guy who just did it is now taking the girl and you are still sitting there waiting for the right moment.
I mean, that's a failure. So
what do you want to do now? Do you want to wait for the right moment, or do you just want to, what's that thing Nike says, this is not a sponsor, by the way, just do it. Exactly. Just do it.
We'll be back for the final part, people. I like that.
I just do some little wordplay there. Just
cool. All right, people, Collar, we're at the final part of our episode, turning failure around. And we're going to try to turn failure into a tool for growth. That's literally the whole point of this episode. And I was thinking about it, where I said failure is necessary, it truly is necessary for you to be able to go through success. Yeah. I have a few points here, we're going to go through the reflection and learning. Truthfully now, as young people, because we're still young, and to people younger than us, even older, you need to be able to understand and reflect on your failures, being able to extract lessons from them. Because if you see it as a failure that you never want to look at, you're never really going to learn.
Yeah.
You're never really going to be able to accept that whatever happened was probably just a misstep. Whatever happened was probably just a mistake. Whatever happened might have not even been your fault. But because you failed, you decided not to analyze it. You're cutting yourself short and you're stopping yourself from progressing because whatever you're learning from that mistake is it's like new knowledge because you didn't know that before. So a lot of people need to be able to look at that, be able to extract these points that they learn that they can pick from these failures and try again. Not every failure is something you can no longer try at, you know. Everybody has an opportunity to try again. Even like as Christians, you know, in our faith, we fail every time we sin. We fail every time we sin. And we have an opportunity to try again. Imagine a Christian perfectionist. Imagine imagine his prayers. He's praying to God and one day he can't remember the thought or the particular prayer he wanted to bring out. So he starts praying again. Oh, Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus, Lord, I thank you for life. I thank you for the hold on. In Jesus' mighty name, Father God, I thank you, God, Father God, Papa God, I thank you for your love and your let's just say the Lord's Prayer. You know, it can be underwhelming. It can be not underwhelming, sorry.
Overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming, but you need to understand that these are just steps in the road that you need to go through to be better.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that I would say. Another thing is adopting a growth mindset. Now, that's one that I can properly talk about, you know, because looking at failure as a form of growth actually allows you to move forward better. Now, I'll relate it back to one of the things I said. Being a kid, learning, going through a new experience. I think I mentioned this earlier on. If I didn't, I'll say it now. Your father's a carpenter or a lumberjack, and you want to follow in the business. Your dad is so experienced, you know, he's probably in his 40s, 30s, 40s, whatever it is. You want to start following him to follow up with the business, but you can't carve as well as him. It demoralizes you. You're a failure because other carpenters are seeing you as a hindrance. You're just wasting wood, you know. You're doing this, but you're wasting wood. Maybe your dad is taking care of another carpentry shop and you feel like you're never going to get the hang of it. So you close the shop down. And your dad comes back. He sees you've closed the shop. So, well, you can't close the shop. It's my shop. And you've not failed yet. What makes you think you know everything I know? You've not gone through enough failure to be where your dad is, you know? And it hits me right on the head because these are things that I struggle with as well. I look at my own life and I question it. I question it and I question my failures. And before it would bring me down, I wouldn't upload. That was how the podcast was. That's why the podcast release time was so flimsy. And I would just see it as a failure. But the truth is, no matter how much of a failure it feels like to us, we still need to try and endeavor because we will succeed. Other people have succeeded. There's no such thing in this world as predestined fate, where it's like God already knows that if you try this tomorrow, you're going to fail. If you try this tomorrow, you're only going to fail depending on how hard you worked on it and how much you wanted to improve. So definitely look at failure as an aspect of growth.
Yeah.
Because as you grow, you do get better. But to get better, you have to choose to learn. There are so many different things you have to choose, you know, patience, being able to listen with your ears, being able to watch the experienced veteran, watch your dad, watch your mom, and realize that they also had to fail to get to where they were. It'd be great. You know, it'd be really swaggy if you came out to say, well, my dad never had to fail to do this.
You know.
Because everyone's going to be like, damn, your dad's a boss, bro. Like, fair enough. But because your dad failed and kept on trying, your dad's probably gained the respect of some other people he had to learn from. He's inspired other people. He's been able to stand on his own 2 feet. And that's the whole point of Lion in the Room, for people to be able to look at life from a broader perspective. And from a broader perspective, you will start to understand that there are things you can control and things you can't. And for the failures that you think you can't control, you actually can. You learn from them so that the next time you don't fail. Think about a guy with an addiction. It's kind of like failing, you go back every time. But the truth is that the day you stop trying to beat that addiction, that's when you've truly failed.
You've lost forever.
You've truly failed. Oh, I want to try and start up a business. You can always try and do that. But, the day you stop for good, that business is done. That's when it's over.
It's failed.
So you can always have an opportunity to learn. But when you do fail, take that as an opportunity to try again. Take that as an opportunity to learn better, to learn more, to try more. But shoot, man, anything you got to say about this?
I would always say a few things, actually. When you fail, because guys, you will fail. You will fail again and again.
Not because you're terrible. There's nothing wrong with you, but mainly just because you may not know how to do it the first
it's a
time.
part of life.
You may not know how to... any of those things.
It's a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
You will always fail. But the time you truly fail is when you stop trying.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep trying. When you fail, don't just, try it again immediately, doing the exact same thing. Because if you try the exact same thing that caused you to fail, you're going to fail again. And here's a little quote I'm going to drop. The definition of insanity is when you try something again and again the exact same way and expect a different result. So when you fail, you must actually do some introspection. Look at why you failed, what you could have done to prevent this failure. Once you understand that, then you try again. If you fail at a different point, you keep doing it. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. Because failing is a lesson. It teaches you where you lacked.
Exactly.
And so when you use that to measure, how did I fail this time versus how did I fail the time before that? You can use that as a measurement to see how far you've gotten. And when you do that, you're eventually going to reach success. And it's going to make the success all the more sweeter.
Exactly. 100% people. Funny story. I remember when I was younger, like, not common entrance or anything, but I'd be building Legos and stuff, I'd be building Legos. And maybe one day, the Lego would fall apart. I tripped or I hit it. And next thing you know, that big tower I made, bro, collapsed completely.
Dang.
The only time I would feel like I'd failed was if I stopped and left it there. I'd come back, I'd look at it and be like, Chai, I didn't finish this. Chai, I just left this thing here. That's how I feel when I fail, when I don't try again. But when I get back to it, bro, I might be there for hours. I might be there till nighttime and I finish it. And that feeling is a whole lot better. It's a whole lot better than that failure, that feeling of failure. Well, this is what it is. I'll just leave it like this, But when I chose to try again, I felt so much better seeing the finished outcome. People just need to get back to trying. People need to be able to look at things and still push for success.
Yeah.
Truthfully, there is no other way, honestly.
I think another thing I'd also like to put a few real world examples of mine. When I was a kid, there were various games I used to play. Games that as a kid I couldn't beat. I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I still would not beat them. It wasn't be until maybe 10 plus years have passed, I would actually go back
and play it.
And
then you beat it.
Yeah.
Wait, how many years did you say?
10 plus.
Jesus.
I'm serious. Like games from when I was a young boy. It's like when I played this, it was hard back then. I couldn't do it. But it's like I'm older now and I'm trying again. Even though it took me 10 years. But at the end of the day, I beat it.
Yeah, small little life lesson.
Little life lesson, yeah. Like, failure is not failure until you decide you will never try this again forever. Whether I say you will try again 1 year, as long as you always go back and try.
Exactly.
It took me 10 years to beat several games.
Don't let the fear of judgment stop you as well.
Exactly.
Oh, man. A game that I stopped playing, Sekiro. I didn't finish Sekiro.
You should probably use this episode and try again.
No, I ain't doing that shit, bro.
Well, then you failed.
That game is hard. I'll take that failure, bro. I'll take it because that game was difficult.
Yeah,
I was playing that game during the lockdown, and damn, I got to some fire boss.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I couldn't beat him, bro. I couldn't beat him.
Is it the spirit of hatred or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you beat? Did you beat him?
I didn't even try.
Yeah. And you see, you're pointing fingers at me. Well, people, that's all we got for today. This has been Lion in the Room, episode 23. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. We've tried to come back, and we are gonna keep it that way. Episode 22 is already out. You know, the episode we did with BK, we recorded that in February, but had some issues with the audio, so we just had to edit it without the sound from the sound system. But we still hope that you enjoyed that episode. We talked about personal training, nutrition, and the concept of, you know, physical fitness. And now today we're talking about the benefits of understanding failure and seeing how it pushes you to success, as long as you continue to push and strive. Never quit, never stop. What's that stuff David Goggins said? Stay hard.
Oh yeah, that guy. He's really a nutcase. To be fair, I say nutcase because it's like his dogged persistence.
Yeah, bro. Some people might call him insane.
It's almost insanity because I remember he did like a jog thing and he was injured. He injured himself.
Damn.
And he still kept jogging. Like he's injured his leg and he's still jogging on the leg. I'm like,
I've been wearing these shoes for like 5 hours and my toes are paining me.
Like, do you understand? Like, is that not, that's dogged persistence, but you get the point.
And that's just, every human being can do it. Every human being can do it. Well, there we go, people. There we have it, people. God bless you. Take care. We love you. And yeah, see you soon. Peace.
Bye.